Hi everybody, I've got this panel here today that want to talk to you about how we attract, grow and inspire future talent to the island, specifically with digital skills. So I'll let the panel introduce themselves.
Good afternoon everybody, I'm James Martin, I'm the Talent Acquisition Specialist for Derived Isle of Man.
Good afternoon everybody, I'm Jo Pretty and I'm the current Principal at the University of Man.
Hi there, my name is Cosmo Curry. I'm Head of Talent Acquisition at Van Kuysen.
Hello everyone, my name is Jason Crane. I'm the Learning Solutions Director at Readiness.
Great, okay, so to get started, let's focus more on how we attract digital skills and talent to the island. So Cosmo, I'll start with you. If you can tell us what you think the biggest challenges are to attracting the right skills to the Isle of Man.
Thanks for the question. I think there's been a recurring theme throughout today, which is, how do we find the talent and bring it over? There is absolutely no doubt that the talent out there exists and wants to come over. I think the notion that we cannot fill the jobs is actually more, how do we change that because the people are there to come over? The core issue that we are finding is in terms of immigration and visas and the time scale behind that. It feels as though one bad experience will automatically kind of close down the door to a business looking at that. And with such a huge demand and a really tight supply, we have to be looking at off-island and how do we make that process seamless to the businesses and to the individuals who are relocating.
Great, thank you. And James, what do you think that employees are looking for in this day and age? So what do we need to demonstrate? What does the industry need to demonstrate to attract people over to the island?
Yeah, absolutely. What I'm seeing is more and more demand for inclusive workplace. Also things like the flexibility that can be offered by the employer. What's in it for you as an employee, beyond things like salary, traditional benefits. It's the investment in the individual, it's the progression of the individual, it's things like exposure to wider parts of the business, internal mobility, options to make your way around a business and ultimately upskill and cross-skill in different areas. I'm seeing a lot more demand for that within candidates.
Okay, thank you. And so, Cosmo, back to you. What do you think the government should do? Where should digital Isle of Man put its focus? What are the priorities that it should be thinking about?
I think Digital Isle of Man I genuinely think have done a fantastic job in the sense of the marketing campaigns they've done for the island have been great. The reimbursement that they give out to businesses who are relocating somebody back to the Isle of Man, I think it's 20% of the yearly salary up to £10,000. These are great initiatives. But in order to address that visa, immigration, relocation process, I think the only option I can see is a dedicated resource around that piece. That a business can say, this is a person we want to hire, we want you to take control, we want you to complete the paperwork, we want to get time frames on when this person's going to arrive. I think a lot of the time, it's not just a business, but humans are like this. We can manage our expectations when we have a time frame attached to it. We go, okay, this is going to take a while, and we get that, but we need the skill, and this is the option that we have. But when it's never ending, we have no idea. We don't know when that's going to happen, we don't know how they're going to arrive, and the candidates on the same side is having that issue. That is when we start to panic, and we go, gosh, is this ever going to happen? So I think by having a dedicated setup that allows both the candidates, the individuals, and the businesses to know exactly what's going on, is chasing the relevant departments in the country, is completing that paperwork, you feel a sense of safety, and I think that would make a huge difference from a government perspective in terms of what they could do. In terms of an industry side, the companies that do it, and there are quite a few, they need to be shouting about this. They need to be saying to the businesses that are scared, that are reticent about doing it, actually, this is okay. This is how many people we brought over. This is the success of it. And look at the type of caliber of individuals that we brought as well. I think if we can get more businesses that are actively relocating to talk about this, I think we'll see a cascading effect to those who are a little bit, nervous about that. And there are a lot that are nervous about that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So attracting the talent here is just one part of the equation. Once we get them here, we have to retain them. And so if we get them through the first winter, they'll stay. But of course, it is a bit more serious than that. So James, I wonder if you could come in on this question here, and just what are the key issues, do you think, in retaining talent in local businesses?
You say James then, or Jason?
I should have said Jason, apologies.
I just wanted to say, I think we've got a distinct advantage today. Well, I feel I have, because we've listened to some great panel discussions, and there's definitely a recurring theme here, from what I'm hearing, is the recruiting of talent, the training of that talent, and how we can really promote this digital era that we're going into. And I definitely know for sure the last 2 years have been hugely challenging for all of us. But I can safely say this is the most exciting time for me in my lifetime from a digital perspective. And I think that what we do next is going to really determine, our future in this new digital era. And it's just so exciting, the amount of things that are now possible that weren't maybe possible pre-COVID. And as a business, we've really had to diversify. Our whole business model was face-to-face, in-person training, and that's obviously not possible during COVID. So we've had to absolutely dilute our business and diversify to virtual, and that's opened up the possibilities and made them endless. So Readiness are thought provokers. We really focus on the art of what's possible, and in this new world we're living in, there's so many exciting training initiatives that are available to us. But it means for us all to challenge each other and think about whatever we've done previously, what can we do better, and what we can do more of. And that's a real focus on us as a business. And we're really hoping, with a great ambassador as what we've got is Lorna Trevethan, to really promote the Isle of Man as a digital island of excellence. That's our long-term vision. But we really need the island and the community to get behind what we're trying to do. We feel we've got some great solutions. We feel we've got some great initiatives. I don't want to go into them today. I think it will take up the 30 minutes we've got. But we're really excited about the opportunity. And it's not an Isle of Man problem. This is a European problem, a global problem. And we feel we've got some great possible solutions.
Thank you. And so we're talking about retaining employees in businesses. But Joe, I wonder if you want to come in here and talk about how we retain students on the island.
Yes, I think the key thing for retaining students is actually having a really clear career progression map linked to the curriculum and the programs that they can study. So we'll start at level 2 and we'll go right the way through to graduate and postgraduate level. So when they then get their first step on the career ladder, it's about how people can come back and they can access modules and they can continually learn throughout their lives. And the hardest thing with digital is it changes so quickly. So in terms of qualifications, they're usually written and validated for 6 years. Well, it's out of date with digital. So the key thing is maintaining flexibility. So picking the qualifications that enable the delivery of them to be flexible around what the current need is at that time, and making sure that each individual within their career is actually mapped on their own individual journey.
Okay, thank you. James, do you have anything to add to that in terms of retaining employees or encouraging graduates back to the island?
Yeah, I think, it's great to see some organisations that are running work placement schemes, and it does tend to be the larger organisations. Potentially, they do have the bank account to do that. They can afford, they have the head count that they can take on select number of individuals a year and so forth. But I think maybe companies knowing about things like the internship scheme that the government run, and just publicising initiatives like that a little bit more. If you can attract some skills to your workplace, and it can be kind of subsidised by the government, I mean, it's a win-win for both, and it's giving young individuals in industry that valuable experience, and also opening them up to what opportunities are here on the island as well. Encourage them to go to university, encourage them to get that degree, but then their eyes have been opened to what's here for them to return to.
Okay, thank you. And Jason, from your I got the name right that time. Too many J's, far too many J's. So from your perspective, we've talked here about the younger generation around students and graduates. But is there a theme here around reskilling people who are in employment and upskilling them to take on more technical positions?
Yeah, we've got a massive focus on the reskill part, because there's definitely a clear issue in finding talent. And as Cosmo and James has touched on. And we see a massive potential shift in mindset as to thinking about your current employees and reskilling those individuals so they can be deployed into other areas within the business. I mean, I can give you examples, but one of them springs straight to mind with a customer that we're working with that has a real issue trying to find software developers. Now, he took a couple of people into the business, paid them slightly more than the level of expertise they were at. They had a 6-month project. 3 months into the project, one of the guys turned around and said he's leaving. He said, look, I can't have you leave. You've still got 3 months left on the contract, on the project. I'll match whatever you've got. And the other employer was paying him £30,000 more. The employer was absolutely shocked by that, and it's made him think about it in a different way. So, it's two-part from our perspective. We see the side from the recruitment, we see the side from the training aspect. You either recruit potentially within a business on salary, and that's a problem long-term, or you recruit from a perspective of upskilling and reskilling the individuals you have at your disposal. And a lot of them are looking to embrace that aspect as well. And if you talk about keeping individuals within your business, you've got to give them reasons to stay in the business. So our core focus around one of our initiatives is digital skills boot camps. It's giving employers an opportunity to look at individuals within the business that can be deployed into other areas. And that could be a definite focus from a business perspective.
So what Readiness provides then are initiatives to kind of help bridge that gap. But are there any other initiatives, kind of more open question, but are there any other initiatives that industry could be looking at or government could be looking at to help bridge the digital skills gap?
Jane, do you mind if I just come in here and talk about the Student Learning Company? Because we mentioned a little while ago about attracting young people back to the island and retaining that talent. One of the initiatives we had 2 years ago, which is funded by the Isle of Man government, which, I'd like to thank them for that because it's a brilliant initiative, is to bring back young graduates onto the island and put them into a company where they are able to learn to be digital learning designers and developers for the future. And it's a $200 billion industry out there. The e-learning industry is massive. But to have an opportunity as a young person to be given a program where they work with employers, we've worked with several employers on the island, where they have master classes, but where they're left to grow and develop, almost like a kind of a start-up sort of nurturing environment, I think is absolutely fantastic. And last year, 3 of those young people went straight into employment with Suntera. I don't know if we've got anyone here from Suntera this afternoon, but others will go on to set up their own companies in the future as well. So it's feeding the industry, but it's also feeding startups for the industry. And I think that's incredibly valuable that the government funded that program, and hopefully that will continue. Thank you.
Any other contributions there in terms of initiatives to bridge the gap? Okay, great. So we've talked about attracting the right skills. We've talked about how we retain them once they get here, and we've talked about how we grow local talent in the younger generation. But further with that younger generation, how do we inspire the next generation? So I'm aware of local initiatives such as Love Tech, which look to inspire young girls into opportunities in STEM on the island. And I think they're starting to make a difference. But more generally, how do we ensure that we're supporting a diverse and inclusive environment where digital skills are nurtured and the younger generation are well informed about the kind of career opportunities that we have on the island? James?
Absolutely, yeah. I think big shout out to Love Tech because it is absolutely amazing. I think it's everywhere now. It's getting stronger and stronger. I think businesses coming together to shout about us as a tech hub, effectively, or a digital island, is a great place. Is a great start. Maybe seeing businesses do more in the community to showcase what they do to younger generation or just the general community. For us at Derivco, we're looking at putting together a community hackathon. It'll be a great way to kind of bring people into the technical space, give them a real-life problem. Teams of people, all ages, all different genders, working together to come to solving a task. And it showcases the environment that we have. They see our workspace, they see what we're about, and I think just having more of that is a great starting point.
Thank you for that. Any other ideas on how we inspire the next generation? Jo?
Yes, I think we could do more work with the schools and employers and UCM linking in, going in and doing practical workshops in the schools, I think would be inspirational. We tend to split the digital education almost like in two kind of ways, really. One is the digital literacy, which is incredibly important for young people to actually learn about how they use the online space, that social media, and how they kind of get the best out of it. Because I think with the rise in mental health issues that we have, it's incredibly important that we work with them on digital literacy, but also how we then inspire them to train to work in the digital sector through the VR, through the augmented reality, the coding and robotics and all around this piece of work, which everything we do, I believe, should be done in partnership. I think it's really important that industry and your education and training works together in partnership in this arena.
Thank you. Any other ideas on inspiring next generation?
Well, in collaboration with Digital Isle of Man, we developed the First Steps program, and they've mentioned it a few times today, which is the basic digital literacy. And there is a thought process that we assume that anyone below the age of 25 understands the basic Microsoft Office applications. They may understand them, but maybe not in a business sense. And the idea of that program is to give them an ability to access that First Steps program, but put it into business interpretation, and that's a real focus of that course. So we're really excited about doing more of those types of projects, more of those initiatives, and just on attracting the younger demographic into. I think that definitely stems from schools, and I know Joe's got big insight into that, and I think there should be even more done with the educational system, working closer with employers and going out to employers and understanding how employers engage from their perspective on skills, and teachers go in and spend a day with employers. I think they can come back with some real useful insights to give to their pupils. So that's something that we feel as a business we're promoting across the UK and across Europe.
Great, thank you. So finally then, I think we've listened to some really interesting panel discussions today, and there's been a few key themes, I think, that have kind of crossed across many of those panels. So really, if we just go across the panel now and ask if you've got any kind of key takeaways, either from our discussion now or from any of the discussions that you've heard today in terms of how that relates to digital skills and attracting people to the island.
I feel we've talked a lot about the USP of the Isle of Man, great place to live and work. We all live and work here for a reason. I think having companies come together a little bit more, work with government, work with Locate, work together to shout about that, I think that will go a long way. I really do.
I think my key takeaway is that there isn't a one-size-fits-all answer. And I think we already do a huge amount of really good work on the Isle of Man, everybody. But we are in a growing global sort of demand sort of market, really, for digital skills. And I think we could build on what we've currently got, but realise there isn't a one-solution answer, but also realise that this is an ongoing piece of work. It will never end, because digital obviously keeps reiterating, it keeps changing. One example is we teach coding, but actually the language changes. So as you're doing it, it's changing. So I think it's constantly working together in partnership, and it's having lots of different initiatives for different ages at all levels. That would be my takeaway, working together.
I think the core takeaway for me is that the talent that we need exists. And the idea that it's just not possible is just simply not the case in terms of bringing that over. It exists. We have to manage our expectations in terms of those timeframes, but it absolutely is out there. There are countries that resonate hugely with the Isle of Man all over the world. And I think if businesses are open to say, right, how do we set this about to make this happen? And what we can do is, from a recruitment side, is run them through that process, introduce them to other businesses who have done it, get them feeling safe about that process. I absolutely know that we can continue what we're already doing, but just on a much larger scale.
Yeah, my core takeaway will be, it's very, very clear from all the panel discussions and in the breakout sessions as well, that everyone's seriously passionate about this subject. And I think we all need to kind of take that on board and act and be bold and try and think, what can we do now that's really going to be a succession plan for the future? And it's not about thinking immediately, it's about thinking, what's coming down the track. I mean, there's so much emerging technology that's coming along, and we're almost sprinting to stay ahead of ourselves here. So my core takeaway would be, I think we need to act now. I think there's some really exciting things available to us, and I'm really excited about the future, and I'm looking forward to hopefully speaking and working with you guys going forward.
And a nice link there to the next panel's discussion topic as well there on emerging technology. So well done, Jason.
Yeah, it wasn't meant.
Okay, I can't see any questions coming through on Slido, but Abby, is there any questions? Any questions from the floor?
Looks like you're going to get away with it.
Great. Okay, well, thank you, panel, for your time and for your insights, and thank you for listening.